Welcome to the Boomers, Bucks, and Bling podcast, where we turn retirement planning into a bit of a thrill ride. I'm your host, Carl Spiteri, and each week we'll dive into everything from reverse mortgages and staying put in style to Medicare, Social Security, and home safety. But wait, there's more. We're not just going to talk all about money and business. We're going to add some sparkle, some bling, as we chat with travel pros, party planners, and a lot of different topics that's going to help you make the most of your golden years. So grab a cup of tea or whatever it is you want to drink, get comfy, and let's make retirement planning an adventure of a lifetime.
Hi, my name is Carl Spiteri, and welcome to Boomers, Bucks, and Bling. We'll be doing a series of podcasts trying to help our baby boomer clients navigate through the world of retirement. My very first podcast is with Ginger Bell. Ginger is helping me start the series of podcasts. So welcome, Ginger.
Hey, welcome, Carl. I'm so excited to get you going on this. And yes, it is your very first episode. So I'm delighted to be your first guest. But I'm going to actually flip the switch a little bit. And rather than having you interview me, what I'm going to do is I want to have a conversation about why you're starting this. And so I know you help a lot of boomers through ADU, getting their house to where they can, retire in place, through reverse mortgage, through retirement planning. And so I want to begin by asking you, why are you starting this podcast?
Well, I've been in the mortgage business a real long time, and I've always tried to help people. And in the industry, I've probably got the greatest satisfaction out of helping first-time home buyers.
Yeah.
Right. They're buying their first home. It's a real big deal. It's a lot of money, and there's a certain reward to just helping them through the process. Well, as I've been in my career, and as I get older, one day, every day, I'm a day older. Things are changing. Things are changing in my life. And I have a pretty good financial background. I understand kind of what's going on financially. What I don't understand as much is what's going on emotionally and what's going on physically. That I have to ask experts. So my goal here is to bring in individuals that are in finance, of course, because that's kind of where my passion lies, but also different aspects of the retirement process, and kind of just bring clarity to, hey, you're not the only one going through this. We all are. And let's go through it together and let's try and figure it out.
Absolutely. Hence the name. So the name of your podcast is Boomers, Bucks, and Bling. So the boomers we know, and we know there's 10,000 boomers that are turning 65 every single day, right? So things that they're thinking about: when to pull out Social Security, when, how about Medicare? What does that look like? And for a lot of people, and especially, you do business in California as well as other states, but, people now want to age in place. They don't want to necessarily even downsize. They like their home. They want to stay in their home. Or maybe they want to find another home that they can tap into. So that's the boomers part of it, right? That age group.
Right.
And I know you have a lot of different product offerings that can help them, right?
Correct. And a lot of unconventional ideas. For instance, take reverse mortgage. I mean, reverse mortgage has a horrible reputation, but used correctly, it's a very, very good financial planning tool. And you can kind of prepare yourself for what if. We're in our 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s. We've had more than one oops in our life.
Right.
It's pretty naive to say that there's not going to be another one. Hopefully there isn't, but chances are something will come up. And you look at it as more of an insurance policy than a mortgage. So that's the kind of stuff I just want people thinking about.
Well, so let's unpack that a little bit, because that's definitely a conversation to be had. So you said reverse mortgage, negative connotation, and I think that's beginning to change, because it used to be reverse mortgage was like, your last effort. You've gone through everything else. But today, when we look at the equity that someone has in their house, it's amazing. And in my mind, it's thinking, okay, you have all this equity in your house. It's kind of like if you have your portfolio, whether it's your Roths or your 401ks or whatever, and you said, I'm never going to tap into that. That would be silly, right? No financial planner would ever say that's a good plan. But when you think about it, you have, and some people have $1 million of equity in their home. Why are you not tapping into that equity you've built? And so really and that's why I'm so excited about you doing this podcast, because you bring so much expertise and your network is huge. But having that dialogue to change that mindset, and that's a lot of it, right? It's like change that mindset, bring an understanding to truly how you create an overall plan. And that's really what it's about. For me, we own several properties. We have a lot of equity in our properties. And so, for our house, it's like, can we tap into that, when we reach that age? That is definitely something to consider. The other thing is, and a lot of people don't know this, and I know you can tell us about it, you can actually buy a home with a reverse mortgage. So walk me through a little bit of that.
Well, the way I like to life has seasons, correct?
Right.
And we're kind of in this winding down season of our lives. When you're a young individual, a young couple, you decide to have children, what's one of the things that you probably did? You got life insurance. Why? Mm-hmm. To protect the people you love from the what if. Right. And so that, as your children aged, the need for life insurance became lesser and lesser. Right? Because portfolios increased, real estate equity increased, and the need to protect your children decreased.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what a reverse does, it kind of does that in opposite. It gives you, if your home is paid in full, paid down to zero, Carl, why on earth would I ever want to get a mortgage? My house is free and clear. Again, it's the what if. And we don't know when our last day on this earth is going to be. We don't know what's going to transpire between today and that day. And it's just basically you use it as insurance, as a protection, because if you have to get a hold of cash, the best time, and it's always been, I've told my clients this for 20 years, the best time to borrow money is when you don't need it. As soon as you need it, it's much more difficult, right? And it's right. True. So that's kind of the way I want people starting to look at the reverse. And I think I did not answer your question, but that was something I wanted to
Well, and
on.
that's it. So that's it. If you want to, being able to tap into that equity. So doing a reverse in your existing home, tap into that extra equity. But one of the things I want to talk about, and I know you're going to have some real estate agents on, you're going to have some others on as far as, planning and retirement and aging in place and ADU. But I think a big misconception, especially for our real estate friends, is buying a house with a reverse mortgage. And so that, again, is a whole new concept. I had a friend who bought a house recently in DC, and they had moved from San Diego, moved to DC, closer to her daughter, but they got just a regular, conventional forward mortgage. And I said, why did you do that? I mean, why would you have a mortgage payment right now? You could do a reverse mortgage, buy the house, because they had money to put down as well, but have no mortgage payment, just your, what you have for your impounds. Mm-hmm. And she's in the industry, Carl. She's in the industry. And she's like, I don't know. I didn't.
Because it has a negative connotation.
Right. And it's like, I'm sorry. If I can buy something and don't have a payment on it and free up my money to where I can, invest it or save it or whatever, that's the
have it
power
in use of emergency, in case of emergency, right?
Right.
That's the key.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing. So the goal then of this podcast is really to bring education, provide insight. The audience boomers, Buck's talking about financial planning. I know you're going to have some Social Security analysts on talking about when can you tap into Social Security, because there's only one time. There's one time that you can tap into that. And there's lots of different rules of it. The full retirement age is 67 that you can tap into it. So, if you tap in sooner, then you're going to have the lower amount. And I recently had a conversation with a mastermind group, and we're all reaching that age. I'll be 62 this year. But one of the questions was, okay, if I tap into it, how much money can I still earn when I'm under the full retirement age? And so it's those kind of things that are important to know, because if you're under the full retirement age, you're capped on how much money you can earn and take a retirement. But if you're ready to retire and you don't need to earn any money, you can earn some. I think it was 20 to 50,000, depending on some things. And if you think about it, and this goes into the planning, right? If you take it from 62 to 67, and I've talked to several people who have done the math, you end up getting more money than if you wait until you're 67. But if you're still working, then it's like you need to look at that. So those are the kind of things, that's the planning part. And nobody walks it through us. It's kind of like when you have a kid. It's like, okay, where's Dr. Spock? I need the manual, right? So it's answering those questions and creating the plan and being able to get some of those questions answered. So that's the Bucks side of it. So I know you're going to have some financial planners, Social Security analysts, Medicare, insurance agents,
realtors,
that whole thing. But I want to talk about the bling, because
the bling is my favorite part.
Bling. I know, I'm excited. So what's the bling part of it? Because that's the fun part, right? I mean, that's the thing. It's like my husband and I went and looked at RVs over the weekend, and that's his big dream. He wants to get an RV, he wants to travel across the country. To me, that's the bling part of it. So talk to me about the bling.
Okay, so we're all in our 60s, right? 70s, 80s. Pretty much, if you own a home and you're well, you've worked hard all your life. Well, now's the time to kind of sit back and reanalyze. There's a finite amount of time left, right? What are we going to do with that time? Your husband wants an RV. You can afford it, and it's not going to, just destroy your lifestyle. Go get it.
Yep.
And I'm not saying spend money frivolously. But for instance, I have a client, her lifelong dream was to spend a lot of time in Paris. She's always wanted to do it. She owned 2 properties. She was making payments on both of them. We did a reverse mortgage for the house she was living in. She Airbnbs the house in the summertime.
Wow.
In Southern California. And she goes to play in Paris for, I think, 4 to 5 months out of the year. She has no mortgage payment. She comes back to San Diego. She enjoys her life. She goes back to Paris. She enjoys her life. If that's her dream, then why not?
Right.
Right. We've always, raising families, taking care of parents, doing a lot of different things. We always put our lives, a lot of times we put our lives on hold.
Yeah.
Or our dreams on hold. And this is the time to kind of reanalyze it. And that's what we hope to help people focus on. It's just, what do you want, right? It doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's not going to harm you financially, because it's going to wipe you out. But if it's what you want, buy a second home. How many people want to buy a second home in a mountain resort or at the beach or wherever, but they can't handle payments on 2 houses? Use a reverse mortgage to buy the house and not have a payment on the second home.
Right.
We had a deal where we had a set of grandparents who wanted to help their granddaughter because that's the only way she could afford to stay close to them, and she was having a baby. This is their great grandchild. They did a reverse mortgage, gave her $100,000 to help her buy a house. I mean, I don't know, does that make sense? Well, if the granddaughter was going to get the money eventually once they passed away, don't you think it was better to give her part of the money now as opposed to later? boats and fishing trips. And I had a good friend of mine just went and spent 2 weeks in Alaska fishing.
Yeah.
It was a very, very expensive. It was like they were in a special club, and they did whatever they did. I mean, the guy spent a fortune on it, but that was one of his dreams.
Right.
Why not? So
Yep.
the bling part of it is most important, I think.
Yeah. So then you'll be having people on to talk about some of those things. It's like how, planning for, vacations, helping out. I love your story of helping the granddaughter to buy a house, because why not do it now? I mean, like you say, eventually they're going to end up having access to that, right? But
Yeah.
why not help them when they need it instead of waiting later on when they may not need it, or not.
Well, they get the benefit of watching the great grandchild grow.
Yeah.
I mean, how special is that?
Yeah.
The granddaughters having memories of her grandparents, and then the grandparents have memories of not only watching the granddaughter raise her child, but the great grandchild growing. I mean, it's like there's so many different things that people just don't think about. What they want to do is they want to take this one, and in many times the largest part of their portfolio, and not use it in retirement.
Right.
No, we're going to leave that alone. Like, why? Why not combine all your assets into one portfolio and then manage it accordingly?
I love it. That is fantastic. So this is our very first episode, and I know that you're going to have a lot of guests on. So you're going to be publishing every week and a new guest every week. And so give a little insight for our audience as far as not just who's listening, but who may want to be one of your guests on this podcast. So why would they want to be a guest, and, being able to share their expertise?
I think anybody that has a service to offer, a story to tell. I mean, we may have people have done reverse mortgages in the past on this show, because they have a story to tell. It's not so, to me at this stage in my career, it's not so much about selling anything. It's really about helping people.
Right.
And if I can help people make the right choice, whether they do a reverse mortgage or not, really doesn't. I mean, it matters to me, obviously, but it doesn't really matter to me. It's just helping them make the right choice.
Right.
And if we can bring people in, travel advisors, people in maybe the RV business, people that run ski resorts, people that all the things that people may want to do and just have never thought about, maybe they can.
Yeah.
And to me, that's what's going to hopefully make this real interesting for people.
Yeah. So, and that's what all of it is about. It's that full circle, right? The financial part of it. What does that look? Helping you out answer questions. Thinking about sometimes people don't even know what questions to ask. So being able to get those questions answered. And then the fun part of it is like, we're in retirement, approaching retirement. And so those things are possible. What are the possibilities? And so I'm very excited to be able to go with you on this journey. And I thank you. I know that you have been in business for a very long time and have some amazing expertise to bring. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Well, thank you for being on the number one. You will always be my first podcast. So thank you. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And we'll be talking.
Awesome. Yeah. So if you're tuning in, you can find the Boomers, Bucks, and Bling podcast on all the streaming channels. And if you go to the website, which is www.boomersbucksandbling.com, then you can get all the episodes there as well, right?
Correct.
Perfect.
And it's not buck, it's bucks, because we're talking about many bucks.
Yeah, Boomer, Bucks, and Bling. So the bucks is plural. I love it. Very good. Well, thank you, Carl, and I look forward to seeing all of your episodes.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Boomers, Bucks, and Bling. We hope we've managed to mix a little enlightenment along with fun. If you enjoyed our conversation, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you'll never miss out. And if you got a moment, drop us a review. It helps spread the word and keeps us motivated to continue. Got burning questions? Hot topics you want us to dive into? Let us know on our website or social media. Until next time, Carl Spiteri here to remind you to tackle retirement with a big smile and a whole lot of energy.
The content of this podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It does not constitute financial, legal, or professional advice. You should not rely solely on the information presented here to make any decisions. We recommend seeking the guidance of a qualified professional for any specific situation. Arc Latex Financial Services, LLC, NMLS number 2143, its hosts and guests cannot be held liable for any losses, damages, or other negative consequences arising from your use of the information presented in this podcast. For license information, visit www.nmlsconsumeraccess.org. Equal housing opportunity.